Let's continue our conversation about the best practices today for getting in the self-storage business. And we're in a conversation about the best due diligence practices. Let's talk about that right now. Hello, I'm Mark Helm, I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Quick Start Academy. And what I do is I support the small investor who wants to get in the self-storage business or who wants to grow their self-storage business, strategically do so in a way that creates true wealth and a fulfilling career. And you can go to creatingwealththroughselfstorage.com, find out more about the Quick Start Academy and all the training, both free and paid for, that's available for you. So we started a conversation a few weeks ago about the best practices once you get a project under contract. Congratulations, you've got a project under contract. So now what? In the last episode, we went through some of the best practices in due diligence for inspections, how to handle inspections, feasibility reports, and what to get from the owner and how to look at the books and records. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch episode 229. Today, let's go over loan approval, which is a huge conversation, and then the legal and the closing itself. Now, the reality is, as we talked about in the last episode, all of these spaces that need to be covered in the due diligence process are happening at once or congruently. You'll spend part of a day working on the loan and then you'll focus on another part of it. But I'm breaking them down into the spaces that you need to go through. Very often we'll order a feasibility report immediately, even after a letter of intent's executed. But for 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not doing much on it because the feasibility report is in progress. So I'm covering each one of these. They're not in an order. They're all happening at once, but I want to go as deep as I can in an episode like this into each one of the spaces that need to be covered. And one of the spaces is loan. Now, unless you're buying your project cash, which few of us do, some do, but few do, you're going to be using, in most cases, bank or financed money. So I want to talk about how to approach that in today's world. Now, at the Quick Start Academy, I have courses that go into a lot of detail on the types of loans you can get based on what your business goals and business strategies are. I don't want to take an episode like that and go into this, but suffice it to say that you're going to be going and getting, in most cases, the majority of the cash needed to buy the storage assets or to buy the land and purchase the assets to erect on the land from financing. So this is a big piece. And remember, finance money in most cases is the cheapest money you're going to get. I'm going to need a lot more of a return than what I'm paying in interest on the money, and most investors are too. I want you to know that there's a link below, and if you're reading this, there's in the episode 230, there'll be a link in that blog that will take you to a sample loan package that we put together. But what I'm going to suggest to you is that you walk into wherever you're getting the financing, whether it's a bank or whether it's a permanent lender or whether it's a credit union or you're meeting with an SBA lender, that you walk in differently than 99% of all the people walking in for a commercial loan. Here's what we do. I take literally a physical binder. I also have it in an electronic format, but I take a physical binder in, I meet with them, or if it's a lender that's out of town and I'm not in town, I will literally set up a computer connected call and walk them through the binder in electronic format and take them through the whole thing. So what's in that binder? Let me tell you. In the front of the binder is a sheet of paper with a picture of the project or a picture of our logo or something about our company, or that it's self-storage. It'll say loan proposal, and it'll have the bank or the lender's name, company name, personal name, and date that I'm meeting with them. And it'll have our contact information on it. Then when they flip the binder open, the very first page before you get to a tab is called Executive Summary. Our executive summaries are no more than a page and a half. A page if we can do it, but no more than a page and a half. And it's a very high-level view of the deal. We're buying 20,000 square feet for $2 million. There's expansion land included in that $2 million purchase price. The facility's currently at 85%. We're going to add another 30,000 square feet. We estimate construction costs to be at $1 million. So we'll be in the entire project for $3 million. We estimate it's going to take between 26 and 32 months to bring the expansion up to stabilized occupancy. When we do, as you will see, we think this asset will be worth $4.5 million, and it'll be generating a 15% cash-on-cash return. And you want to keep it very simple, very high-level numbers, so that that lender can have a quick overview of what the strategy is and why you think it's a good project. Then tab number 1 is the financial analysis. That is literally, if you're using the Storage World Analyzer, those are the reports that are printed out. Now, I don't spend a lot of time on every single page, but I'll walk them through it. Here's what we're estimating our operating expenses to be. Here is the lease up. Here's the income that we think we're going to get and why we think we're going to get it. Here's the current rent roll. Here is our 10-year cash flow. You can see that we estimated income will be averaging a 3% increase a year, and operating expenses 2.5%. 3% is very conservative. We've been averaging 5% or more over the past 5 years, or use industry statistics. But you walk them through your financial analysis, and you don't. The reason you do that is you want to be showing that you're not just hoping your deal will work, but you have thought this out. Here's my strategy, and here's why I'm doing it. And I promise you, very few people are showing up in that lender's office doing that. Then the next tab will be any information on the land or the project itself. If it's a self-storage facility for sale, we have the marketing, the OM package in there. We also have surveys, anything else about the area or that facility. Then the third tab will be the feasibility report. Very often I'm meeting with a lender before the feasibility report's done. I'll have a sheet of paper and say feasibility report to go here. And I talk them through what a feasibility report is, and it's an independent third-party vendor that's going to give us a snapshot of the sub-market. These things tend to be very accurate because the majority of our customers are here, and you can look at the current facility or tell them that 86% of the customers live within 3 or 4 miles of the facility. So you sell the concept that the lender's risk is going to be reduced by the feasibility report. Then the next tab, financials on you all, the guarantors on the loan. Now, I won't have everything in here, but I might have my net worth sheet in here, or some of the guarantors' net worth sheets, and then something saying that we will send any requested information via email to them. Mostly they're going to want to see tax returns and other projects you're involved in, if you are involved in others, but something about your financials. And what we do is we keep our financial net worth sheet updated quarterly. So as the loan balances change on the loans we're on, we keep them updated quarterly, and our financials all match. So if I have partners on this deal and we're in another deal, the loan balances on all the deals we're in together are exactly the same. And then the final tab is your resume, something about you, who you are, and your history. Now, everyone does their first self-storage deal. What you want to do is you want to create a resume that accentuates the strengths that you have and why that bank is going to be safe having you be the sponsor of this deal. Now, you don't want to exaggerate or not tell the truth here, but you want to be accentuating what your strengths are and not drawing attention to your weaknesses. Or if you do draw attention to any weaknesses you have, you let them know that you have a partner or a vendor or an employee that will cover those weaknesses. I've had many lenders tell me that's probably more important than any other part of the package. They would rather loan to a good, qualified sponsor on a okay deal than to a mediocre sponsor on a great deal. For most commercial lenders, who they're loaning to is very important. Spend some time on this. Your history in business that would support why you would be a good sponsor. If you've never done a storage deal, talk about other real estate transactions you've done, or that you have worked in the financial industry, helping other people make a lot of money and invest money. And in that industry, you have realized that self-storage is perhaps the best place to be putting money. And you want to start creating opportunities for other investors. Whatever your background is, accentuate your strengths and why you would be a good sponsor. I will say, if you're early in your career, SBA loans are something good to consider for a first deal perhaps, or second deal. They have 25-year self-amortizing loans. There's no balloon payment on it. Yes, interest rates are a little higher, but the 25 years compared to most banks of 20 years makes the payment about the same. It's a little more expensive. There's more closing costs, but there are a lot of advantages to an SBA loan. I don't want to go into detail here, but really consider it. I know with some SBA loans you can get high leverage, 90%, 95%. I really recommend against that, especially if you're using other people's money. You don't want to be over leveraged. Leverage is great. It helps boost returns, but it's a double-edged sword, as you know, and it can also bite you. Also keep in mind that even though a lender may be playing hard to get, those banks are in the business of making loans. And that person you're talking to a large degree, his or her job depends on placing good loans. I don't necessarily say it like this, but where I'm coming from and who I'm being is, I'm here, and if you do business with me, it is really going to help you, because self-storage is the lowest foreclosed on asset class there is. I know what I'm doing, and if you're looking to place a safe, good loan, you are talking to the right person. Now, I don't say that, but that's who I'm being, that's how I present myself, and that's how I present the opportunity that I'm proposing to them. Come from that, don't be cocky, but come from a place of strength as you're presenting this. They'll see that you know what you're doing, because no one else is walking them through anything like what you're doing here. And who I'm being, at least, is, if you do business with me, you're doing yourself a favor. Again, I don't say that, but that's who I'm being. Very often you have to educate that lender about self-storage in the self-storage industry. Do that. We've done a lot of loans with Live Oak Bank, for example, on SBA. And I like working with them because I don't have to educate them about the industry. They focus, one of their verticals is strictly self-storage, and the people I'm dealing with, that's all they do is self-storage loans. Those type lenders are great, but don't overlook that. If you're dealing with a lender who doesn't know much about the storage industry, educate them about it, why you're attracted to it. Of all the spaces we go through, this financing tends to be the longest running and sometimes the hardest space to move through, especially if there's a construction component, as there is in many of our loans. Be sure that you got multiple offers coming to you. Don't just depend on one bank or one or two people. I've done that. I don't want to be in that position again, but know that you very well could be burning a lot of calories in this part of the due diligence. Very often, if I'm in a time crunch on my due diligence and I've had a meeting with a few lenders and I've got and they've come back with the term sheet and I'm picking a lender to go with and I feel pretty comfortable I'm going to get that loan, I immediately order an appraisal. Yes, it's at risk, but usually the process is the bank's going to send you a proposal letter with just the basic terms, interest rate and how much and how long an amortization and some of the other loan covenants or guarantee requirements they're going to have. Then if you accept that, then they go in and really do their due diligence on you and the project. Then that could take 2 weeks if it's fast, month, usually 2 to 4 weeks, and then once they approve you, then they'll order the appraisal. What I typically do is take the risk to go on and order the appraisal. I'll fund it up front so that the appraisal's happening while they're doing their due diligence. That shortens the due diligence timeline. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just telling you what we do to make sure we can perform. It's a risk, but I won't take it if I don't feel we're going to get the loan. But that's what I do to help shorten the due diligence. Now let's talk about legal and the closing. I've said from the very beginning, a critical part of your team is your attorney. At the end of the negotiation, it's usually our attorney negotiating with the seller's attorney over indemnity and how long certain representations will last after the closing and all the legal stuff that would really, in most cases, upset a seller if they're dealing directly with you. So I negotiate the basic business terms with the seller or with the seller through their real estate agent, and then I let the attorneys handle all the other stuff. Now, as in the due diligence portion, the attorney also plays, or at least our attorney plays, a very important role. They not only negotiate the contract for us, but they form our legal entities. They do the UCC searches on who we're buying, are there any lawsuits against them, what's the litigation history, because in most cases we're buying their book of business, their intellectual property, their websites, their name, and we're taking all the assets, but all of the potential liabilities too. So we want to know as much as possible what we're actually buying. We make sure our attorney reviews all of the lender documents. Our attorney does our title work. We want to make sure, and our attorney reviews title work that other vendors do, but we want to make sure that there's no title issues. We've had title issues before. Believe me, it's not fun. And finally, we have our attorney review all of the closing documents. Having an attorney who moves fast, knows what you're up to, and really can represent you well is critical. In some of the training programs we have on the Quick Start Academy, we have checklists that our attorney or we use with our attorney. We share those in those classes with you. And just don't overlook this. This isn't like in most types of commercial real estate. You're buying not only a piece of real estate, but you're buying an ongoing operating business in most cases if it's an existing self-storage facility. Make sure you do your due diligence on what you're purchasing. Now, as you move through the due diligence process, what you're ultimately doing is you're replacing all of your initial business assumptions, hopefully with real numbers or updated estimates from the information you're getting on the due diligence. Then my relationship to it anyway is at the end of the due diligence period, I've got my loan, I know what it is, I know what my costs are going to be. Hopefully I know I have an accurate picture now of what the current storage facility is bringing in income, how that submarket really is, what my construction costs will be or most likely be, and how long it's probably going to take me to lease up and I just change all of that, and then I look at it and can I achieve the business goals I need to hit with this updated information. If it's a yes, I pull the trigger and we close. If I remove the contingencies. If it's a no, I tell the seller why I can't remove the contingencies. Is there any way for us to negotiate what the difference is? If not, we walk away. Believe me, you're better walking away from $10,000 worth of sunk due diligence costs than you are purchasing a $2 million facility that is not going to meet your business goals. But in most cases, if you've done your preliminary work right, you'll be closing. And that's where it gets extremely scary and extremely exciting. And next week, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what I think some of the best practices are in today's environment for putting your self-storage facility into service. Thank you very much. My name's Mark Helm. I look forward to being with you then. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. That's the financial analysis tool that we use that generates the financial pro forma reports that we put in that request for loan proposal binder. If you're using Excel, great. I invite you to look at the Storage World Analyzer. I use it every day. Thank you very much, and I look forward to being with you again soon.